Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, attraction coach and founder of The Goddess Next Door. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show, the place for practical spirituality for daily living. Mira Binzen has been immersed in the practice and lifestyle of yoga for decades. She is deeply committed to bringing this practice to children in a way that's simple, fun, and accessible. She has a degree in child psychology, and yoga is the main tool she uses as a developmental therapist, supporting children's mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. But before we get started with Mira today, let me ask you, are you ready to manifest a first-class life with ease? How about, are you ready to take your life to the next level? What about have more success, love, and happiness on your terms? Have you noticed whenever you want to make a change, like make more money, have a deeper soulful relationship, or upgrade your life, it brings up fear, self-doubt, and frustration? Why does this happen? Well, it's because the beliefs you have want to keep you in your comfort zone. Unfortunately, that means your current beliefs will keep you stuck right where you are and will make it difficult to manifest what you want. To create your first-class life, you have to have first-class beliefs. Whether you're ready to meet the love of your life, you're ready to take a big leap you've been considering for some time, or you're ready to bust through money blocks, I'm here to help. I've created a free mini course called Sparked, Manifest Your First-Class Life, that'll walk you step by step through powerful tools to get you started on your journey. To get a copy of this complimentary course, go to today's episode page at thegoddessnextdoor.com and click on the Sparked banner. Thanks for listening. Welcome, Mira, to the Awakened Goddess Show.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, today I'm excited because we're going to talk about spiritual well-being for children. And this isn't really a topic that we talk much on the Awakened Goddess Show. So I'm excited to add this as kind of another layer to the program. I know you have a lot of experience working with children with yoga, and I can't wait to hear your experiences and how that works. So why don't we start there? What exactly does it look like when children are practicing yoga?
It looks like a lot of different things. I've actually had parents come into a classroom where I'm teaching kids yoga, and they'll say, well, this doesn't look like yoga because we're being wind in the trees and half the kids are holding steady in tree pose and the other half of the kids are running around the room like wind through the trees. So it's a challenge for the kids to stay steady even though there's all this movement around them, and it's really fun and interactive and engaging. So they're still getting the benefits of the yoga practice, but in a playful and engaging way.
So how did you even start? How is this a passion of yours that you decide to work with children?
Well, it came in a couple different ways. One is that I've always been interested in the human mind, in psychology and Eastern psychology specifically. I was reading books by Ram Dass in ninth grade, Be Here Now and Grist for the Mill and Journey of Awakening, those books. And so I was always interested in psychology. And I noticed with adults tend to be kind of like they're stuck in their habits and their ways of being. And with kids, they're so fresh and so open and so ready to experience life. And it's just exciting to be with children. They're so fresh and alive. And so that's one reason. And as a child working as a developmental therapist with children, I found yoga, and I recognized that yoga is a great way to help children experience well-being on all levels. So I love working with children. I love the fresh perspective that they have on life. And then getting a degree in child psychology rather than adult psychology and using yoga as a tool to work with kids.
Yeah. So when we're talking about children, how would you describe, what does well-being mean to you?
Well-being is an experience of balance in all areas of your life. So well-being is physical balance, emotional balance, mental balance, and spiritual balance as well. We really can't look at the whole picture of being well without looking at spiritual health just as much as physical health. So it's the whole package. And it's really an individual experience. So my criteria for well-being might not match your criteria for well-being. So it's how I feel in my body, in my mind, in my soul that would define well-being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can see how that would be extremely beneficial for children because, this day and age where we have so many external influences that I think, especially for children, getting them at that young, tender age and helping them build their spiritual practice and know, come in contact with what is their deeper values or meaning. So is that kind of what you do in yoga?
Yeah, for children, it comes quite naturally. The questions that I get about is yoga a religion and all of these reservations that we see in the school systems with bringing yoga in really aren't present with kids. Kids have a connection to source. They know what God means to them. And of course, that's based on their own family's individual beliefs and the beliefs of their community, which we, of course, respect. We're not in any way telling kids what to believe or how to believe. We're facilitating that connection to source, which is very real and very alive in children. So we don't need to teach them how to be connected to source as much as to acknowledge and affirm that, yes, your experience is valid and you can continue to cultivate that relationship to nature, to source, to all of these subjective things that adults kind of poo-poo in the name of scientific discovery.
Yeah.
And these kids are going to be adults very soon. Very soon, the children in my yoga classes are going to be world leaders and business leaders. And wouldn't it be nice to have everyone have these skills and tools for mindfulness and self-awareness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think that we all can benefit from that. So do kids actually meditate? Is that something that they can learn to do?
Yes, kids can, do, and will meditate, and it's really fun. It's something I include in every single yoga class I teach, including toddlers.
Oh.
So we have our little 2 and 3-year-olds, and what we do is we keep it very short and very simple, and we'll include like a little, I call it a yoga song, and it's a basic mantra with finger movements, and so the finger plays the children like to do anyways, and it just lasts maybe 3 minutes. And they're engaged with it. It's really cute to see a group of 5-year-olds with their finger and thumb touching and their eyes closed. Some are looking around, some are picking their noses, some are slouched over, but they're being exposed to the environment of meditation. They're being exposed to the practice of being still and quieting the mind. I tell the kids, it's just like brushing your teeth, right? And I ask them, I say, who in the room brushes their teeth? And they'll raise their hands and say, well, I do. Well, why do you brush your teeth? And they'll say, well, my mom makes me do it. Yeah, that's a good reason. And the other reasons are why? Because it feels good. It's kind of gross to not brush your teeth. And it keeps your teeth healthy. And the kids understand that. And I said, well, meditation is the same thing. We've got our dental hygiene, and meditation is mental hygiene. So it's not so woo-woo or mysterious. It's a daily health practice. And when kids learn it, it becomes as everyday and routine as tying your shoes and brushing your teeth. And so I think it's the best time to teach meditation is when we're young because it becomes a habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I want to talk more about, you mentioned mantras. So I want to talk more about mantras and mudras and maybe explain what those are and tell us how you use those in your practice.
It's interestingly some of the most beneficial practices for kids and the practices that kids enjoy the most. So a mantra is simply the repetition of a sound. And those sounds can be the name of the divine, or they can be a quality, a positive quality. The one I do with children is Sat Nam, which means truth is my name. And I explain that to the children. I say, we're saying like, I am the truth, or who I am is real. Truth is my name. It's very basic. And so a mantra, and we do it with our fingers, sa, ta, na, ma, touching each finger with a sound, and we repeat that. And then the kids will leave the class singing that song. So a
Mm.
mantra, I grew up in Minnesota, so I say a mantra is like a Zamboni, and it clears the ice. You get all these grooves in the ice from the ice skates, and the Zamboni comes and smooths the ice over, so all those grooves are gone.
Oh, is
So
that
we get
that
these
big ice
grooves.
machine that they drive?
Yeah,
Okay.
Zamboni. That's a cultural thing. You may or may not know that word,
No.
but the big machine that pours water over the
Yeah.
ice that freezes it again, and so it takes our habit patterns of, like, we say, well, why do I keep doing that? Why does this keep happening to me in my life? And it's because we have these deep grooves in our mind, these habits, and some of these grooves are really helpful. We don't want to have to relearn how to drive every time we get behind the wheel. So some grooves are very functional.
Mm-hmm.
Other grooves are dysfunctional.
Right.
And so the mantra clears those grooves and sets new positive grooves. So you have this positive regard for yourself. So a mantra is simply the repetition of a word that promotes a positive quality within your psyche.
Okay. So I like to do like some chanting and I use mantras, but I don't know what they're saying, what the words are. So when you don't know what the words mean and you're saying these mantras, how does that work?
Well,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's three important aspects of a mantra. One is proper pronunciation, the other is right understanding, and the third is intention, the intention that you have in chanting the mantra. And there's this great story one of my spiritual teachers told. There was a young boy, and he really wanted a mantra, so he kept bugging the spiritual teacher, like, give me a mantra, and he kept shooing him away, and this boy kept coming back, and finally, just to get rid of this kid who kept pestering him, the great spiritual master gave him a ridiculous mantra like, oh, I love pumpkins. And so the boy went off. He didn't understand the meaning of it. He went off and he chanted and chanted and chanted, and of course gained enlightenment because his intention was so strong. So of those three, of course, your intention is the most powerful. So if you don't quite understand what it means, or you're not quite pronouncing it exactly correct, your intention is going to override those. So
good.
That's okay if you don't understand what it means.
Yeah, because I have wondered, am I pronouncing this right? Or so that's good to know, because you wouldn't want to be doing kind of something you think is going well, and it's just you're saying
the opposite word of what you intend.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And then the mudras, those are the finger placements, yes?
Yeah, mudras are hand gestures, and I explain it that they're little mini yoga poses for your hands. So we can't always break out a down dog or a tree pose in the lunch line at school, but we can always take our hands and put them in a certain shape. And each shape is like an energetic key. And when I teach the mudras to the children, I will often teach 3 mudras in a row. I'll teach one and have them hold the mudra and notice how they feel, notice their breath, and then do a second one. And then we'll go around the room and talk about it. How does it feel? Oh, this one made me feel this way. This one made me feel that way. And then they get to choose of the 3 which one they liked the best. And we'll hold that mudra for the meditation. So they get to have free choice in how they want to feel. And it's empowering and engaging for the kids to participate in that way. And I have a great story of a mudra that I was teaching a group of girls. I run a course called From Anxious to Awesome. And it was a group of 8 to 12-year-old girls. And they were dealing with anxiety in their life. And I taught this mudra called Turtle in a Shell, where you put your thumb inside your hand and wrap your fingers over your thumb. Sometimes we say, put the hot dog in the hot dog bun. That was from my time in Chicago. And then you put your hands down on your knees. And I didn't explain anything about the mudra, just how to place your hands. And one girl was sitting there and she was like, oh, I know. This makes me feel so stable and so sturdy. I'm going to use this in school the next time this boy is bothering me. So there was a boy in school that was really teasing her. And you know how some kids are pretty teasable and and they get a big reaction. And so they get teased more. Yeah. And that was her case. And so she's like, yeah, I've got this. And so she had the own experience within herself, feeling like this mudra makes me feel, unflappable. And next week in class, we do a check-in, like, what are you practicing at home? I really want them to make it a part of their daily life. And the same girl, she's like, oh, I use this mudra all the time. And I taught my best friend, and now she uses it all the time too. And I taught my sister, and now she uses it all of the time too. So it can go viral.
Wow.
And these kids really take it on and make it their own. And they're not so afraid. Like in an adult yoga class, they go to class, some authority is telling them what to do. And then they go home and they're like, I don't know how to practice. But kids are like, this is mine. I'm owning it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes a part of their life. And that's where the practice becomes really effective and can really lead to the kind of transformation that's going to lead to well-being on all levels.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah. Yoga for your fingers. You know what? I never realized that those were so powerful. I had no idea. I just figured, oh, you're just doing something with your hands, so you're not paying attention to your hands.
Yeah, a lot of the practice of yoga isn't widely available. We kind of stick to the yoga postures, which have a great benefit, and there's so much more. And oftentimes we have adults come into our teacher training program. We have a certification program for teaching yoga to children called Global Family Yoga. And people come into our training programs and they're a little bit miffed. They're like, no one's teaching me this in my adult classes. You know, we talk about the philosophy of yoga. We talk about the different practices in addition to the basic yoga postures. And they're like, why am I not getting this in my adult class? So we really do cover, classical yoga, the full practice.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, what is the mudra where you're putting your first finger and your thumb together? In the one you always see. What is that?
It's like a meme. Everybody knows it. I started teaching yoga to children in 1999, and I would go into a class of kids, and they would say, "Oh, yoga," and they would put their first finger and thumb together and sit up and go, "Om." I'm like, "Where do you guys get this?" But it's this kind of universal thing. With the kids, I call it diamond mudra because your hand is kind of like in the shape of a diamond, and it makes your mind clear and strong and sharp and brilliant like a diamond. So we call it diamond mudra. But each tip of the finger has a different, energy station, your whole nervous system and your energy body. So each finger represents a different element: water, earth, fire, air, space. And so touching your first finger and thumb together is going to have a different effect than touching your second finger and thumb together. There's another mudra that I use with the kids where you put your middle two fingers together against your thumb. So it's kind of like you're at a rock concert.
Oh, yeah.
But your middle two fingers, and this is called Apana Mudra, which facilitates this downward energy, which promotes great elimination. So a lot of kids today are dealing with constipation. And so I do this mudra with children, and I say, this mudra helps you poop. And I was doing this with this one girl at her house, and we were doing this mudra. She's like, oh, wait, hold on. And she ran off to the other room, relieved herself in the bathroom, and came back. She's like, oh, yeah, that works. So again, kids are really responsive. They're really quick to balance. They're quick to go out of balance, and they're quick to rebalance. And so these mudras are like, it's almost like acupressure or acupuncture, where it has and you want to be careful because it is strong. So we use mudras that are grounding and stabilizing for children. We don't use mudras that really promote, this Kundalini awakening or upper chakra stuff. We just keep it basic and simple. And the kids like them so much because they are so handy and because they're easy to use. And think about how empowering it is for a child who's been basically said, well, there's something wrong with you. Here's your diagnosis. And here's the medication because, there's something wrong and you need something outside of you to make you well. And then to come to a yoga class and say, how are you feeling inside your body? And when you do this particular activity, now how are you feeling inside your body? So you did that for yourself, and you can do that for yourself anywhere, anytime. And the kids, you just see them being like, yes, they feel so empowered to be able to self-regulate. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very empowering to them and gives them that ability to, like you say, self-regulate and learn to get in touch with what's going on inside, and then have something that they can do that helps shift that. And that's like so important. Okay, so do you mind going through, I'm so curious now, what each of the mudras for the fingertip ones, if you
want to do the yoga song with me?
Sure.
This one, Satanama, is that what you're talking about?
No, you said, okay, the first one, the diamond, is for kind of like focus and clarity, correct?
Hmm. So the different fingers, the pinky and the thumb touching together, the pinky finger is water, and
Wow.
that's easy to remember because when you're touching your pinky finger and thumb together, you've got your other three fingers that make a W for water.
Nice.
So that's easy to remember.
That one's kind of hard for me.
I know you need some flexibility in your fingers to
Yeah.
do these, just like in a yoga posture for your body. So the ring finger and the thumb is fire. This is the fire mudra.
Mm.
And then, to be honest, I'm going to mess up the last two, earth and air. Um, yeah, I think it's the middle finger is earth, and the first finger is air. So air is that uplifting quality. So when we do this, we're sending our energy, our thoughts, our mind upwards. So that's why I think it's a real classic meditation mudra.
Cool. Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna be,
cool.
yeah. And these
You
are
have
things
like
that,
your own special powers right inside of you.
yes, this is what
Your superpowers.
we can do even as adults.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
gosh. I mean, we could just sit at our desk or wherever we work and do those little yoga poses for our fingers. Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what's something that you do in your spiritual practice on a daily basis that you found has been really helpful.
My spiritual practice it's pretty routine, and I don't know if you know much about Ayurveda, but there's different constitutions, some combination of earth, water, fire, air, and space. I'm a lot of air and space, so the last thing I want is routine, and the routine is the hardest thing for me. But after a couple of decades, I have an okay routine down where I'll do one or two sun salutations, seriously. So people who think they don't have time to practice, just do one sun salutation. It does make a difference, like a classic 12 posture. Do a couple sun salutations, and then I do a practice called Agni Sara, which is churning the belly. And as a goddess, you know that all of our power is in our belly. We have this unlimited potential in our belly that's just sound asleep. So I wake that up every morning with a little Agni Sara, and then I do a seated practice, which involves some breath work, alternate nostril breathing, and meditation. I have a mantra that was given to me by my teacher that I just need to repeat about 5 million more times. That's what they say.
And who is your teacher?
I did my original teacher training with the Shivananda centers, and I did it in India. So Swami Govindananda gave me a mantra, and my spiritual name is Mira. That was my spiritual name that was given to me. And I started using it as my street name about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
And then I also study with Rod Stryker, who has a program called Para Yoga. He's a teacher in the United States. You can find his classes on Yoga Glow, and he's pretty accessible as a teacher. And he's teaching Tantric Hatha Yoga, which is a classical form of yoga that really incorporates all these different elements that we typically miss out on in an open yoga class. I think the combination of a lot of teachers haven't been trained much beyond the yoga postures, and a lot of teachers assume that students don't want the deeper practice. But I think that's changing. I think our yoga practice as a culture is evolving, and that people are looking for the deeper practices. So they're out there, and people find them. So
yeah, definitely. I think if you're called to do it, you definitely find the path and find your way. So cool.
Yeah, you bump into the right people.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what would you recommend for our listeners that have children, or well, let's start there. Those that have children and want to help their child try some yoga or kind of get into a little bit of a spiritual practice, what can they do? What's a practical thing that they can do?
Really simple things, and anything that you do in life that includes a ritual is going to be meaningful and helpful. So it can be a ritual around bedtime where you read a book and say a prayer or whatever that you do, or do a mudra, or spend a few minutes breathing together. Something so simple. Just taking that time to acknowledge our connection is very valuable for children. It doesn't have to be some fancy formal ritual. It can just be whatever is meaningful to you. A lot of families have this already, where there's some kind of a bedtime ritual or something that they say on the way out the door before they go to school, just to affirm our connection and our well-being. The mudras are a great technique that you can use with the kids. The turtle in a shell is a great one. A lot of times kids will tell their parents, "Oh, mom, do turtle in a shell." that will help you,
Oh.
because they learned it and they're like, that's going to help you. So mudras are a really handy, easy thing to do. And I have all these campaigns, and this campaign is 3 hours of unstructured free play every day. And that's for adults too.
Oh.
And I know that's crazy. People are like, oh, if I could get 10 minutes. So start with 10 minutes, right? So this unstructured free play is crucial for development. And our kids today have less and less unstructured time. They're in organized sports. They have a lot of school. They have a lot of homework. They have all these organized activities. And it's in unstructured free play that the mind makes all its novel connections, that the brain really develops. And so it's so important for kids and adults that have some unstructured free play. Go out the door without any plans and see what happens, or let the kids run around outside as much as possible and based on your environment. I know a lot of people living in big cities or living in places where you can't just let the kids run out the door and come back at dinner. Yeah. But free play outside and a mudra here and there is a great start for experiencing connection and well-being.
Oh, awesome. Those are great tips. And for those of you who don't have children, you heard it from Mira. You have to have some free time,
Get outside
free play.
And play.
Yes.
Put on your hat and your mittens and your snow pants.
Yes, awesome. So Mira, how can people find out more about you?
I have a website, mirabinzen.com. It's MIRABINZEN.com, where you can find out more information about living a yoga lifestyle. And we also have our teacher training program, globalfamilyyoga.com. So if you're interested in learning how to share the practice of yoga with children, you can check out Global Family Yoga. If you're interested in finding more about my program, From Anxious to Awesome, or other ways to incorporate the classical practice of yoga into your modern life, it's mirabinzen.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This was a really fun, playful conversation. And I'm definitely going to be using those mudras. I'm going to do those. Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was fun being on your show, Angela. Thanks a lot.
Yes, you're welcome. So thank you everyone for listening to the Awakened Goddess Show. If you had as much fun as we did, make sure to subscribe on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and review. And until next time, goodbye everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Awakened Goddess. I hope you enjoyed today's show and took away something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at thegoddessnextdoor.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.